You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
We are continuing our conversation in the Set Apart to Serve series. Today, joining us, Clint Colwell, Director of Admissions at St. Paul Lutheran High School in Concordia, Missouri. Clint, welcome back to The Coffee Hour.
Hey, thanks for having me be able to come and talk to you again. I always love to be able to do that.
We always enjoy talking with you about St. Paul Lutheran High School, and this time as a part of the Set Apart to Serve series about encouraging young people to consider church work. Tell us about a little bit of the history of St. Paul Lutheran High School and where we are today, where St. Paul Lutheran High School is today.
Absolutely. We have a long history here in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. We started way back in 1883. Realistically, it was to help young men that were in this particular area to get prepared to go off to the seminary. And that's kind of where we started. We went from there to expanding to be more of a college and a high school. They called it a gymnasium program, a 6-year program, but it was really designed to help the people that were going to go into the ministry, people that were going to go into church work. And that's kind of at the core of our history and of who we are. And we've kind of brought that in even into today. We've never really lost that key part of who we are, is that church work is kind of at the center of who we are as an institution.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the students that attend Concordia. They aren't just from the local community, are they?
Correct. Really, and if you go back to our history, there was a number of institutions like us. We're a boarding school. There were other ones out there, but as we kind of are the last man standing, so we're the last LCMS boarding school left in existence here in the United States. And that does give us some opportunities to have students that come from not just all over the United States, but all over the world to come be a part of who we are.
So tell us about the focus on, tell us more about the focus of encouraging students to consider church work. You mentioned that this has been a long part of the history of St. Paul. Tell us more about how it continues to be a part of the focus.
Sure. So really part of it, that's just into our DNA, right? That's part of who we are. Preparing leaders to declare Christ is kind of a tagline that we go by. And our vision for that really is our history, that we've never lost sight of the fact that what we're here for is at least to put in the minds of students as a vocation of their calling to share the gospel with people. Yeah. And in church work, obviously we have a close partnership with our Concordias and other things. So we want to encourage that in our students. It's built into kind of the things that we do, the unique nature of the fact that students are able to live here on campus gives us some opportunities that they might not have in other places just because they're here. And they're here for a longer extended period of time that gives them opportunities for leadership in the classroom and outside of the classroom that we can use to help them and kind of focus that as an option to go into church work, whether it's teacher, pastor, DCE, deaconess, church music, a lot of those other options that are out there.
Tell us more about the culture at Concordia. What makes this such a unique place for this immersive formation experience that these students are able to have?
I think what the main thing in promoting church work, maybe as a viable career option, is in being a church worker that enjoys being a church worker. We have a fantastic teaching staff and people that work here, and they do that and they live it, and they're doing it well beyond the boundaries of a typical school day because of the nature of our school, but they love doing it. It's something that I think when you exude joy in what you're doing, it attracts people to you. They want to know more about that. They want to know more about what you're doing. It's like Colin Powell once said that optimism is a force multiplier. Joy is the same way. I think that it kind of goes beyond just who you are, and people see that, and students in particular when they're thinking about, what do I want to do? What do I want to do in life? And they see people enjoying what they're doing and they talk about that. They're like, they begin to think maybe I could do something like that as well. And they see themselves in those kinds of positions. In addition to that, our teachers being that way, but they also give them opportunities to be a leader here. So in the classroom and outside of the classroom, to have those opportunities to be able to do some of those things and be a leader and lead a devotional, to lead a Bible study, to do the things that they see their teachers doing that they look up to, and they're doing those things and they're talking about their faith. They begin to be able to see themselves doing some of those same things.
Can you give us some more examples of where students are given opportunities to exercise leadership skills or to practice leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, because of who we are, the students being able to be here, there's after school opportunities, but even during school, like we have a spiritual life committee that meets and they help organize and run. We have chapels 3 times a week. They work with those. They are leaders with our students in those and discuss when they do the liturgy, picking some hymns along with our faculty advisor, Dr. Dieter, and they do those. Outside of that, we have other opportunities with Bible studies and things. And then we have a special worship service outside of church. We call it an international worship service, where we encourage our international students to come. Maybe they don't have a background in church, and it's it's an introduction, maybe a simpler message that there is a God out there and there is Jesus and they love you. And this is the implications of that, and that God wants you to know who he is through Jesus. And then we encourage our students, our day students that already have a background in that, to come alongside those students and actively share their faith in those opportunities when they're going to ask inevitable questions. Tell me more about who this Jesus is, those kinds of things. And it gives our kids, I think, a sense of calling to be able to be here. And we have kids that really embrace that. We have students that maybe come from parents that have a background in the missionary field or in ministry, and they kind of infuse an enthusiasm for being able to share that amongst some of our other students, even in and with those opportunities that are there.
How do you see those experiences as leaders then preparing them for future leadership beyond their experience or their time at St. Paul Lutheran High School? What have you heard from alumni?
Right. And so the history of our school, I mean, you have alumni that are literally everywhere. It's an interesting little thing that we're in this middle of nowhere place here in the middle of the United States, but I don't think you could go anywhere, literally. And I've traveled around the world, and you talk to people, and there's always a connection to somebody that was connected to Concordia, Missouri, or St. Paul's or something. And, our students go on into the ministry field. That's just been the history of it. And so they are pastors and teachers and DCEs and district presidents, and, you name it, they've engaged in their church and their church work, to the fullest in the church. And then even outside of the church, we have successful students. We have a high level of education, that we have here. People come here because of the education and they leave knowing Jesus. And that's kind of, the mission of the school, but they go out and they are successful. Just the walls of the church, they go out and they become successful doctors. They become successful in other areas. We've had students go into both the Air Force academies, the Naval Academy, West Point, Johns Hopkins, Dartmouth, and they go out and now they're leaders in those institutions as well. And they're able to, share Jesus with people in those places and in those situations as well as being in the church.
Yeah, my own husband is a graduate of St.
Right.
Paul Concordia.
See, there you go.
There's I got a direct connection.
Right.
uh, you mentioned that St. Paul is in kind of the middle of nowhere, literally in cornfields surrounding it. But how are you able to build these connections between the students and church workers across the country, the Concordias, all of these different places, to really help these students see that future for themselves?
Yeah. So it's funny because we have students that are probably at this moment in every single one of the Concordias, the seminaries. I mean, they're their graduates that are already out there. We do deliberately try to make connections with those places. Obviously, we have a great connection with Concordia Seward because proximity. We offer dual credit courses through them, so we have a real partnership through them. But that then also extends to our other Concordias and the seminaries. We invite them to come on campus on a regular basis, to be here, to bring to kids as an option, and any opportunity that we can take kids onto campus. We take them regularly over to Concordia Seward for different activities or opportunities to see the campus, as well as St. Louis, because that's a little bit closer in proximity. And it's helpful, I think, for kids if they can be on campus and they can see a campus, they can picture themselves being there and going to class there, I think, a little bit more easily than if they haven't been there before.
We're talking with Clint Colwell, Director of Admissions at St. Paul Lutheran High School in Concordia, Missouri, as part of the Set Apart to Serve series here on the Coffee Hour. We'll continue the conversation in just a moment. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
At Concordia University, Wisconsin, we believe you were created for a reason: to use your God-given gifts to help others, to live a life of self-sacrifice in a me-first world, to live a life that's uncommon. Whether you're taking one of 50-plus online programs or learning with us in person on the shores of Lake Michigan, you'll be equipped to make an uncommon impact. Learn more at cuw.edu. Concordia University, Wisconsin. Live uncommon.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Today we're talking with Clint Colwell, Director of Admissions at St. Paul Lutheran High School in Concordia, Missouri. It's part of the Set Apart to Serve series here on the Coffee Hour, learning about opportunities to encourage young people to consider church work vocations. Are there specific... we talked about activities and opportunities for students to engage in leadership. Are there specific tracks for students, or maybe classes or programs that students are encouraged to consider if they're thinking about church work before they come to St. Paul Lutheran High School?
Sure. So one of the things that we have opportunity to do is, when students come here, we do kind of plant that in their mind and ask the question, have you thought about church work before? And are you thinking about it maybe possibly in your future? We do have some opportunities I've mentioned before, we have a partnership through Concordia University in Seward. We can offer some dual credit courses and a number of different things. So besides just math and science and other things that you could get college credit in, we also have some religion courses that we can offer, and Old Testament and New Testament is one of those. And if you're interested in church work at all, we really encourage our kids to take college Old Testament, take college New Testament. You're going to have to take that no matter what. If you're going to be a church worker at one of our Concordias, then you could take that and kind of get a head start on that through that. And our instructor that we have currently right now definitely knows what he's talking about. And Dr. Dieterding, who wrote the Lutheran commentary on Colossians, he's a great one to have as your teacher for something like that. He has a lot of insight with it. But that's one step that we can offer for students. The other things is, like, we have a range of classes because we have kids that have such a variety of religious backgrounds, to absolutely nothing, had no experience with Christianity, to been in the Lutheran school their entire life. We do kind of have, I wouldn't say it's a track system, but we offer levels of classes that would kind of fit who those people are, and where they are spiritually. So it's an intro to the Gospels would be like a very early, to a remedial type class, to a systematic doctrine, which would obviously be way more involved in our Lutheran faith and our Lutheran doctrine. And then we have lots of classes in between that set kids up for success, to know who they are as a Christian, to know who they are in Christ, and then to know their Lutheran faith as well.
Mm-hmm. The curriculum sounds rigorous, but like in a really good way. And also, I mean, we've talked.
Sarah wants to go back to high school now.
Yeah, I kind of do. But a really great curriculum for multiple different levels of theological background, and all of these really great leadership opportunities and connections. But the idea of boarding school may be a little unfamiliar to parents. How are you able to partner with the families of these students to encourage them to have this experience? It sounds really awesome.
Right. And so that's always kind of the challenge when you go out and you talk to kids. So that's part of what I do is I go to schools, I talk to kids, I just throw out the option, that there is another option out there. If you don't have a Lutheran high school in your area, you have a Lutheran high school. The LCMS has a Lutheran high school that is for literally anybody, anywhere to be able to do that. And it is kind of a challenge to think about, particularly the parents. A lot of times the kids will jump right in and say, yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd love to be able to do that. And then mom or dad will be like, hey, man, I haven't really thought about that. I might need some time to wrap my head around that particular idea. But I think, speaking as a person, I promote the school and I go around and I do that. But my kids also went to this school. My background is I am a director of Christian education. I served at a church just south of here about 2.5 hours, and my kids went to school here while I was there. So I know what it's like as a parent to be separated from your students while they're going to school. And I look back on that and I would have to say as hard as it was on the first day that you drop them off and leave, I would do it 1,000 times over simply because of what this place is and what it has done for my kids to encourage them in their spiritual life. And not only that, but academically and social, that they became a much greater, well-rounded person. And it was because of where they were. And it's hard to find too many institutions that I think you could say that about for your kids, that they become a better person because they were there. And I think this is one of them.
That's a story I think I want to hear more on.
Yeah.
You used your own family as an example of how your children attending St. Paul Lutheran High School certainly was a benefit to them. What are some, and you gave some general examples. Do you have a specific example of when you saw that, a moment when you saw that in your child or in your, I don't know, in your teenager, a moment when you saw that and realized this was a good choice for us, and this has certainly been great for them in their faith?
That our oldest daughter was the one that kind of broke that mold and decided to come here first, and to do that, she did go to a public high school for her first year, and which was fine. She did that, but this was always kind of an option for us. We were familiar with Concordia St. Paul. My wife had family over here. Her dad had taught at St. Paul. So that was always kind of a place that we knew about. And when she decided to do that and come here, the thing that I noticed right away was her ability to get involved and do some things. The school that she had gone to her first year was a much, much, much larger school than maybe the little Lutheran school that we had always been at. And so the ability to be involved and to be able to see her just blossom and be happy here, we saw that right away. And then coming back and seeing that, and I realized, I think that was one of those moments, just as you walk up and see them, that they're happy, and you like, that's something that I would want for my other kids as well. And it kind of solidified that, while being a difficult decision to be able to do that, it was definitely worth doing for sure.
Mm-hmm. How does that experience for you and your kids help you talk about these experiences with other families? And do your kids also help you with admissions things and talk it up to their kids?
My kids have done that. We also use, obviously we use our students. I hate to say we use our students, but they come out and they do assist in, talking about the school, because that's their experience, right? I didn't have the experience of being able to attend school here, but they did. And they can definitely speak to the ability of being a student here, what it's like to be a student, what it's like to be in the dorm, what it's like to have friends that from all over the world. They can speak to that. I can speak to the standpoint of a parent who actually did that, because I definitely can empathize with a parent who is wrestling with how do I do that? How does that work? We are used to thinking about that when they're older and they're going to college, but not so much maybe when they're in their high school years. And to be able to kind of talk through how that works and work with the parents, that's something that I definitely am able to connect with them on. And but the kids, on the other hand, I think it's helpful to get their perspective, and even through not just our domestic kids, but our international kids, to have them be able to speak on the fact that what was it about St. Paul that, number one, that drew you here? Why would you want to come halfway around the world? And usually it's education. But then what led you to stay here? Because you always have the option, to transfer schools or go somewhere else. And they graduated from here. And a lot of times it comes down to that they just loved the atmosphere here. They loved the people. They felt connected. And this is a place where they could belong. And I think that belonging really touches a need in a lot of our kids, that they need a sense of a place where they can connect and belong somewhere. And this is one of those places.
We've talked about the great work of St. Paul Lutheran High School, the experience that students have there that encourages them to consider church work, or if they're considering church work before they come to St. Paul, how valuable that experience is there. What we haven't covered yet is the need for church workers today. What do you, Clint, from your perspective as a fellow church worker, a director of Christian education, what do you see as how great is the need for church workers now and in the future?
Right. And so it's huge, right? We need people to be in our churches. We need people to continue on sharing that faith. And I think importantly too, we need people that love ministry, that love being in the ministry, that love sharing. That one of the greatest joys that I recall in the parish DCE I did youth ministry for years. And I just loved being with kids. I just loved being with our youth. I loved sharing Jesus with them. I loved being able to joke around with them and talk with them and let them see that you can be in the church and as a worker and be a real person. And that's huge. So the need is great. You constantly will see churches that are seeking out people to work in their music program, in their youth program, or be a pastor, or do hospital visits, or all of those things that just need to go on. And for the church to be able to grow and flourish like it has been, we need people that are willing to step in and do that, and realize that it's a lifestyle, but it's a joyful lifestyle. That it's something that is definitely worth doing, because it just is. It's one of it. Everybody wants to be able to connect and leave a legacy, and I think your legacy in church work it goes so far beyond just your time in the church that it's everlasting.
With your unique ability or your unique perspective at St. Paul, and as a church worker yourself, and with your own kids that have gone through there, what is your encouragement to families who have young kids or teenagers to consider these opportunities for church work for their children?
Absolutely. I mean, consider that opportunity. If you have a student that is leaning towards that, or thinking that they want to be a part of the church, it's a hugely rewarding career. It's worth it. I know sometimes parents will look at that and be like, "Oh, I don't know. That seems like it could be difficult, or it could be hard." I mean, yeah, you're going to have some hard days, but the rewards, I think, far, far outweigh any of that. And the ability to be able to share your faith on a regular basis, I think as an individual, it helps you grow, and it makes you stronger, and it makes you stronger in your faith. And there really is nothing more important than your faith when you think about the eternal consequences of people that don't know who Jesus is, and to be able to share that. It's a pretty important thing.
Clint, how can we learn more about educational opportunities for students at St. Paul Lutheran High School?
Probably the best way, if you're familiar with our website, it's SPLHS.org. You can go there. You can find out more about our school. You can click around. There's lots of pictures, and you can kind of just see a little bit about who we are. And if there's something you'd like to see more about, I'm the guy you talk to. You can find my contact information there as well. We can schedule visits. We can do all kinds of things to be able to answer any questions that people might have about if they want to explore a little bit more about St. Paul Lutheran High School.
Our guest today, Clint Colwell, Director of Admissions at St. Paul Lutheran High School in Concordia, Missouri. Clint, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour and part of the Set Apart to Serve series.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here today.
You've been listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.